This is the Code, Deploy, Go Live podcast, episode 5, with Julie Turner and Andrew Connell. This episode is also available on our YouTube channel, linked to in the show notes. Today, Julie and I are going to talk about some of the different storage options developers have at their disposal when they're creating custom apps for Microsoft Teams, recorded live April 28th, 2025. Good day, Julie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been, I think, 7 minutes since we just recorded an episode. So it is great to see you again.
We're back at it.
We're back at
Yes.
it. Honestly, we're plowing through this stuff, but it's like,
It's not, we're not going too fast, but as we've been saying, we want to get some episodes out there. So there's some meat in our podcast before we go live with it. So, getting them recorded. But this will be the last one we'll do before we see each other in Vegas for the Microsoft 365 conference. So that's coming up, and hopefully we'll be seeing some people there and making some noise about our podcast. So very exciting.
if things go to plan, and if they don't, you'll obviously know why. But if things go to plan, we will be in your earbuds, or at least on your phone, when you're in Vegas. If they don't go to plan and you hear this the week after that, because it wasn't available before, then things did not go as the plan we originally set was. But that's live, or that's a live show. So, Julie, to start out, a little bit of banter. What have you been up to in the last 10 minutes since we recorded the last show?
Well, I got the phone call that the iPad is officially dead. So that happened. Just looking at the phone who's popping up saying, what are we doing for dinner? So not much. And I'm thinking about cookies because we talked about cookies. So now I kind of want a beautiful chocolate chip cookie, but that ain't going to happen.
You mentioned that in that last episode of the pick. I love that. Have you ever, do you know what a creamy is?
I may know what it is, but I don't know that term. It's
like a kitchen device. I think it's made by Ninja.
The Ninja Creamy for ice cream. Yes.
Oh my God.
You and Sue Hanley. That woman is obsessed with her creamy.
Is she really? Oh my God, we have something to talk about.
Yes.
We always have something to talk about. We got something else.
I have an ice cream maker. I don't need I have the attachment for the KitchenAid stand mixer that makes ice cream. So I make ice cream a lot. And there will be ice cream recipes coming up because I have some in my backlog that are delish that I've made.
That's awesome.
So I'll be sharing some going forward.
Yeah, I love it because it's so easy to make stuff that is unfortunately dairy-free.
Dairy-free, yep.
But it's so good. Oh my God, we do Jello pudding, chocolate Jello pudding and vanilla Jello pudding. And with Fairlife milk, that's no lactose. And I had a chocolate one last night with some chocolate semi morsels and some Hershey syrup in it. And then,
are you a fan of pina coladas? Is that like a flavor that you like? It's very. People either love them or they're completely a no on them.
So I'm more in the middle of the spectrum of that.
Yeah.
I don't dislike them. I'm not a fruity drink kind of person. Right.
But
so
a pina colada ice cream with rum in it.
I don't know.
It's delicious.
You know what? I would try it.
It's a sorbet, so it has no dairy in it. It's absolutely off the chain good.
That sounds good. Off the chain's good. Always good. But
I love it.
That's the big thing.
And I don't drink pina coladas, but I love this sorbet. So
yeah, I'm very much just I'm not a fruity drink kind of person. I love sorbet. I love a really, really icy tart sorbet, like lemon would hit you like someone's like the old grandmother walking up to you and how you doing?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right. We digress. News.
Let's start with the news. This is a big bit of news, although it is about a month old from the time we're recording it, which means it's going to be even a little bit more old, but it's a big deal. That Microsoft, or the PMP group, and specifically Erwin van Hunen, has released version 3 of PMP PowerShell. So there's a bunch of reasons on why he's done that. Support, it was in November of 2024, support ended for .NET 6 and PowerShell 7.2. So it was no longer supported. So they bumped it up to V3, which they're based on .NET 8. and PowerShell 7.4, which is the major LTS version. There's some things that were like some breaking changes that are there. They've got some stuff on there on the article that we'll link to on what the breaking changes are. But there's a bunch of stuff that like you'll run into like right away when you start. Like, frankly, when you do the interactive login, it immediately is going to like, it's different.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people use this. I'm not a PowerShell person, but a lot of people use this. So I want to make sure that people are aware of this.
Todd and I have this argument all the time because I use the Microsoft 365 CLI and he is obviously Mr. PowerShell. I'm like, nope, I need the CLI. Thanks.
The same way for me. Like, I don't know. I didn't understand Microsoft coming up with PowerShell. It's like Microsoft. Okay. A little bit of a rant really quick. I might have a few of these every once in a while when we do these shows, but like, if I haven't seen a bigger like capitulation of Microsoft saying, yeah, so our console story sucks. That whole cmd.exe thing, it sucks. And it sucks so bad. We created a new console called PowerShell and we still had issues with stuff sucking. So what do? It was sucked so bad. It's like, how bad did it suck? Well, it sucked so bad that we actually made it easy for you to have an embedded version of Linux running that would be faster at accessing your files. And we're going to call that WSL. What does that stand for? The Windows Subsystem for Linux. Oh, let me get this straight. So you're going to install Ubuntu in a VM and you're going to make it easy for me to spin up so Joe Schmo doesn't know that's what's going on. But when they go to use it, they're going to be actually accessing the C drive using a Linux shell. Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry. Is somebody flying a white flag over in Redmond? Whatever. So I digress. That's one bit of news we have. Let's get off the PowerShell bandwagon really quick.
Yes.
Another thing, and I got two other links here that are all Teams related because today's episode is all about for Teams development stuff. Microsoft has published an accelerator, or really just like some templates for you can go create your own your own agent, I guess. That is for like a data analyst agent or a computer use agent. Help support, that'll be nice. Let's give that to the users and stop calling us. A web browser agent, a developer experience agent, and a tech support agent. Oh, there you go. Let's call users. That's yours. That's not mine. It's kind of cool here because it allows you to kind of start up really quick to get a ready-to-use template for creating a collaborative agent in Microsoft Teams. I mean, all agents, they're all done inside Teams, so it's kind of what it is. But this is a nice little thing, at least good code samples for you to go through and to dig through.
Yeah.
The other one is something
lots of Python.
What's that?
Lots of Python.
It seems like everything is Python when they're talking about AI stuff.
Notice that.
But I mean, there are a bunch of them. There's a couple C# ones. There's one JavaScript one. There's one C# one, one JavaScript one, and 3 Python ones. So at any rate, I found a bug or 2 or 3 when I was teaching my Teams accelerator last week. And I got really frustrated by it and couldn't figure out what was going on. And I'm like, could I be wrong? Like, wait a minute. If I'm right, then I just found 2 bugs. But if I'm wrong, I just found 3 bugs. And I was like, hold on a minute. So here's the deal. When you build a Teams app and you can have 2 choices. You're going to build a personal app, which is, app that is just for you pinned on the left-hand rail. It's not really collaborative. And then you can build it's called a channel app, but it's basically an app that can run either in a channel within a team, or it can be added to a group chat, which is a chat between 2 or more people. And under the covers, we call those static tabs for personal tabs. It's what they were originally called because it's not Microsoft 365 if we haven't renamed something 4 times in 3 years. Then
hallelujah, brother.
For the channel tabs, they're called did you know BizChat is now no longer a thing with Copilot Microsoft 365 Copilot? Now they got rid of BizChat. They just told it that like in September. Like, now we're not calling it that anymore. My God, wishy-washy as a teenager. So getting dressed for school. Sorry, maybe too soon. Yes. On a roll here. Maybe I need one of those pina coladas. The channel tabs are also known as configurable tabs because we could have a settings page with them. So they were called configurable tabs, and they were now they're called channel tabs or group chat tabs. But get this, for the longest time with a personal app or a static tab, the only scope you could have in your manifest was personal. So there's three options: personal, teams, and group chat. Well, now when you go to install a new tab and the default static tab is in there, it says personal, group chat, and teams. I'm like, huh? That's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And even when you hover over the scopes property in the Teams app manifest, it even tells you these options are non-exclusive. Quote, currently static tabs are only supported in the personal scope. Then why did you put all three of them in there? I'm like, that's weird. So then I go back and I'm looking at a few more things and I'm like, hold on a minute. When I go to actually change the scopes property, the IntelliSense says, which would you like? Group chat, personal, or team? Like, hold on a minute now. Not supposed to be able to do that. So I'm like, did I miss something that all of a sudden we can install personal tabs inside of a channel or inside of a group chat? Couldn't be the case. Couldn't be the case at all. So then I go through and I take the app and I deploy it. Cool. I go to install a tab inside of a channel. All it's got is one static tab. Cool. And it's like, what do you want to install? I'm like, I want to install a tab from this app. No choice at all. Boom, static tab right inside of a channel. WTF, it doesn't look right. Something's not right here. Now it gets even more weird. So I'm like, did you guys announce something? Or did you guys do something and not announce it? And then also the documentation isn't correct either. Or did you not do something and you're screwing up with the templates and other stuff is weird? Like if you create a new Teams app project that has a static tab and it has a personal scope and you add in a channel tab to it, everything works the way you think it is. You install it, goes in the personal scope. You install the channel tab. You pick the channel. It says it goes here. You put it in the channel. Everything is all good. Unless your personal tab has a scope set to team, and then it is impossible to install your configurable tab and channel tab into any channel or any group. Teams doesn't even give you the choice. So I was like, either you didn't do anything and there's 3 bugs, or you did do something and you didn't tell anybody about it and you got 2 bugs. So I get this whole repo here, and you get this automated response that comes back from in their GitHub repo, and it's like da 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 da, and then all of a sudden this guy came back to me like within like a couple hours, and usually that's not the case because the people that triage this are in China and I'm not in China, so I'm awake when they're asleep, and he just comes right back and he's like, thanks for bringing this to our attention. We're checking into this. We'll be back with you shortly. I got a separate like DM from him, and he's like basically gave me the equivalent of the professional like, holy, what did you find? Thanks for bringing us our attention. Apparently, yes, you can now have all of the scopes in a static tab, and you've been able to do that for over a year. Like, okay, but then why does it break for team? Oh, number one, your docs are all jacked up. And they're like, yeah, our docs are all jacked up. We got to fix that. Second question was, but what about if I have a static tab that's in the team scope and I also have a channel tab? And he's like, that doesn't work. We're looking into this. My only response to him was, are you serious? Like, seriously? Like, and I literally said this in the repo. I was like, seriously? Did you announce this somewhere? Because no, I have no idea. He's like, no, I don't see anywhere where we've ever announced this. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Wow.
So,
next level.
The nice thing about it though is when I was teaching my class about it and I told them, I hit it, it stuck me for a little bit. And I was like, I haven't seen this yet. So I put an issue up in GitHub. And by the time, and that was like I don't know, it was the day before I was teaching my class. And the next day I already had a response from them. I was like, here's one of the nice things about doing SharePoint or Teams dev versus doing like Teams app dev. The Teams guys, they respond to stuff pretty quick. The SharePoint guys, they've got like ChatGPT responding to stuff in the wrong way. So like in the SB Dev Docs repo. So whatever.
Yeah,
but I digress.
For sure.
I showed my class, and we're still waiting a little bit to find out like what the issue is with this. But that was one of the news things I wanted to share, because if you build Teams apps, it is not clear like why can't I ever pick my team? You look at your registration like something's wrong, and it's all rooted because your static tab has the scope set to team. So you don't like that.
Not fun.
It's not fun. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. I did, but not like the whole episode. So,
all right, what do you want to talk about?
What I really want to talk about is something I talked about in my class today, which comes up every time I talk about Teams app dev, which is, where do I store my data? Where can I store my stuff? Because if I'm building a web app and I'm building it inside Teams, and I have to save my own settings. Where's it supposed to go? So the way I see it is you basically have 4 options that are available to you. I'm going to run through these kind of quick, and I'm curious if anybody has any questions with them. But I'll give you, here are your 4 options. Here's advantages and disadvantages of each one. Here's what I like to use. Here's what I really don't like to use. And have at it. So first one, everyone thinks about, who is a former SharePoint developer and knows that Teams, when you create a new team in Teams, one of the worst choices of names.
Team.
Oh my God, like Teams with a lowercase t or uppercase T. It's like, did you not learn your lesson with features?
I don't even know what to say. It's constant.
I need something to be built to make this work. I have a solution for your problem. Oh, sweet. You have like something I can install? Like, no. It's a cab file with a bunch of stuff in it. What does it have in it? Features. Oh, new things I can play with? No. Like folders with lots of XML in them. What the hell? Anyway, so I've been doing this for way too long. So in Teams, when you create a new team, you have a SharePoint site collection like backing it. So Teams is just like basically like the client for 365. It just points to other stuff and it doesn't do anything. People think like, well, can I then just store stuff in a list in that SharePoint site collection? Can I store it in a document library? And yeah, you totally can. Really, you can only do it for when you're building an app that is not in the personal scope. So like a bot or a channel tab or a group chat tab, or I don't know, apparently now a personal tab that I talked about earlier. But you can only use it in that scenario. Why? Because when you're in the personal scope, you're not in a SharePoint site, right? So your app isn't running inside of a SharePoint site. So you could somehow connect to an existing SharePoint site collection and save your data if you're in the personal scope, like in a personal app. But it's kind of weird, right? You're just not supposed to do that. And so it feels a little awkward. There are some advantages though of using a site collection to store your data. It's all built in, everything's already built into Teams. So you don't have to go through and stand up any other data storage options. And it's also good because all the data is going to be, is also stored right in line with, right inside SharePoint. So it's all subject to all the same like security and compliance configuration stuff that you've got for your tenant. So it never leaves the boundary of your organization. So those are good things. It makes it a little bit easier. And if you're familiar with working with like Graph, REST APIs, it's not so hard to go through and do this stuff. But there are some downsides to it.
Well,
right?
It also gives you the collaboration on those things, assuming you want to allow that.
Assuming you want to allow that. But a lot of times people are building their own experiences and it's like, no, I just need a place to store like a settings file, or I need stuff to go through and to store a couple images that I need to reference throughout my app. And I don't want to give you access to go into the covers and start messing with that stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you want that, yes, that is an advantage. From what I've seen, most people don't want that, and that when they're building apps. And so the fact that users can get access to that same content that's inside of that SharePoint site, if they know how to get to it, which is not that hard, but if they know how to get to it, they can muck up the data because they know it's just SharePoint. They can just get to the same underlying content. So if you're storing like JSON files, like setting stuff and everything, it's like, don't think that that's like a secure storage. Like I have one.
Oh, I mean, you can obfuscate it though. You can make the list hidden or the library hidden,
But a lot of them then say, oh, well, I can just go through and just write straight from the graph. And then they open up the dev tools and they can see it's going. It's like, okay. Oh, look, you can still list it. And
if it's super secure, secret information, wonderful. But let's get real. Like, it's probably not. And anyway, security through obfuscation is probably just fine.
We will agree to disagree.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing that's a little bit tricky with this is that private channels throw a little curveball, because a private channel in a team, it's his own site collection. So then it's not there. Another thing too, not a great solution if you're trying to store data like from a bot that's running in a collaborative scenario, because SharePoint's REST API is not great for like being very, very chatty. So
that I agree with.
Great solution for that either.
Yep, I agree with that.
So is it an option? Yes. Is it good for like simple apps? Maybe. I'm not a big fan of it, but you could definitely do it. Another option. So do you like any comments on that?
Only the one I made. I use it a lot. I definitely do it a lot. If I need it to be hidden, I hide it. Security through obscurity is completely fine unless the content itself is something that's highly sensitive. And it almost never is. If it, excuse me, if it is highly sensitive, then you definitely need to go down a different path. But that's when I would normally create my own API. So I'll let you keep going because you have some other options here. But yeah.
The next one that a lot of people don't really think about, I got three more. So one that a lot of people don't really think about is using OneDrive. And this is good for the personal, really good for the personal scope, because what this is, although it does have some of the same limitations, is that you have an app folder inside of your personal OneDrive. I know you have lots of OneDrives, which that already is a weird oxymoron, but you have in your own personal OneDrive, you also have an app folder, and you can get access to that as an app running with that. You get access to that via Microsoft Graph. So then you could store data for that user inside of their personal OneDrive. Now, again, you may run into the same challenges you ran into as like the disadvantages on the one I just talked about, the SharePoint site collections, because it's in the user's OneDrive. And so if you're expecting a JSON file to be a certain format and you're the one that serialized it as the app, and the user goes in and they start doing some other stuff with it, it's basically one of those, like, I went to the doctor and I said it hurt when I touched it, and the doctor's like, don't touch it. Well, you shouldn't have messed with the settings file. You shouldn't have touched it.
That's a scenario where you can't prevent the user from modifying those files by hiding them. That's not really a thing. And then the only other thing I just want to clarify, maybe, yes, it's a personal OneDrive, but it's your personal OneDrive for business.
Yes.
Because personal OneDrive is a different thing. So it's the app folder in your OneDrive for business personal location.
But a personal account can be added as a guest to Teams, and I think it could still work inside of their app folder.
I haven't seen that be the case. We had a lot of problems with that, but maybe it was a temporary situation. Okay. So I'll just put that there.
I've never tried it, so you have more experience than I do, so I could be just talking out the wrong end. And it's not on camera.
And it might have been a temporary situation, but we could not get that to work reliably. So,
okay. Third option is a relatively recent one. If you have a document-centric solution, SharePoint Embedded, great option. SharePoint Embedded essentially is, we should do an episode on SharePoint Embedded, but SharePoint Embedded is essentially just it is a separate partition. It's another SharePoint, but with no UI to it. So they basically say, give me SharePoint, but delete the www folder or the www root, basically. The only way you can get to the data inside of SharePoint embedded containers, and when I say container, really think document library, but don't think like Docker containers. The only way you can get to that content inside of a SharePoint embedded container is through Microsoft Graph, and only through the app that is associated with the SharePoint embedded container. So nobody else could get to that data unless your app granted those other people access to it. So you can, in fact, the other thing that's nice about this is that all the data, again, it stays inside your Microsoft 365 tenant. So by default, it is, I'm going to say it's hidden. That's not accurate, but it's hidden away from the rest of 365 by default. It's indexed, but it's all flagged as, quote, non-discoverable. So it's not going to go up for like Copilot or attaching a file in an email or like SharePoint search. You're not going to be able to find it any of those ways unless you flip the bit on the container and say it is discoverable, and then it would show up in all those different, light up in all those places inside 365. This is a pretty good option. It's great for ISVs who want to store data inside for their app, but on the customer's tenant, because the data stays in their tenant, not in the vendor's tenant.
Right. That is a good use case.
It works for both personal and the shared scope, like a channel-based app or channel tab, or channel tab, group chat tab, meetings, personal tabs, and then bots both in the personal and in the shared scope, because you're not, this is not tied to
Right.
It's like a centralized storage blob inside of your 365 entitlements. The downside to it is it's an extra cost. So it doesn't, it is not included in, it does not count against any of your Microsoft 365 entitlements. So like storage quotas, stuff like that. But you pay based on the amount of storage you're using, the API hits to the data that's inside that container that you're responsible for, and you pay for data egress. So everyone's like, the questions I get about that is, well, how much do you pay? Like, it's kind of like an 18 cents more than if you were doing files inside of an Azure storage blob. It's about 18 cents more. But it's because you get all of the features from like SharePoint document libraries, versioning, all the ECM stuff, all that stuff you get.
Purview,
all that.
Yep.
So that's a good option if you have a document-centric solution, although I have seen a lot of people use it to just store like JSON files for the app, because it's very fast. The last option is using something from Azure. Now, it doesn't have to be Azure. It's just some sort of other cloud storage. So wherever you decide to host your Teams app, if you're an AWS shop, a GCP shop, or you're in the Oracle cloud, God forbid you, it doesn't matter where it is, but wherever your app is, you can use the storage options from those as well. Like for Azure, you could use Azure Storage tables, blobs, message queues, or just queues. You could use, if you wanted relational data, you've got Azure SQL Server, you've got Azure Postgres hosted service. And if you wanted like a document based solution, when I say document, like document, like a document database, not like a document library. So that would be like Cosmos is a great option for that. Those options are more for like, if you're building like a robust app and you want to have like everything centralized, that's where you would do it. You would use like some of the Azure resources for that, or the equivalent AWS or GCP or Oracle clouds, or any of those guys, or any other commercial clouds that are out there. These are a whole bunch of different options that you got available to you.
Yep.
So
good ones.
If I had to give you my recommendations on which ones that I would use, I generally first always go to the Azure resources, because my app is already going to be deployed to Azure. I can have all that stuff get provisioned when the app is installed, or at least validate that the stuff is provisioned before I do this. If it's multi-tenant, I can still go through and spin up additional stuff very easily using Bicep. The only thing I would say is I'm personally not a fan of using a SharePoint site collection for this. I know you said you use a lot of them. I'm not a fan of using them, but
I think this is where we differ based on the types of solutions that we're building. 99% of the time, I'm building solutions that people need to work with that. Like I'm augmenting the features and functionalities of SharePoint and Teams. Okay. I'm not replacing them. I'm not building a completely separate thing. So I'm using SharePoint because I'm either going to have a site where I want to give some custom functionality of like working with content, make a different user interface, make a different way for people to interact with the content, bring the content together in a much more usable way. So the content needs to be on the site. It needs to be accessed separately, because somebody might look at a view in a list, or they might look at, the document library separately. Like there'll be a whole bunch of stuff that people are going to do out of the box, and I'm augmenting that functionality. Or I'm building my own APIs using like maybe just Azure Functions or whatever to elevate somebody's permissions to be able to do very specific things inside a SharePoint site they don't actually have access to. And that's the other piece of that. So again, 90% of what I do on a day in and day out for my customers is to augment Microsoft 365. So of course, my primary data storage is going to be SharePoint. But that doesn't mean I don't get to a point, and I have a client right now who we're going to try to build them a bespoke material handling system. They don't need that data in SharePoint. They're not going to be working on it. They actually need it in like a SQL Server so that we can data warehouse some of that data later, transactional in SQL Server and data warehouse later. So I'm with you on that part of it. Like I'm sort of SharePoint first when we're augmenting the reality or augmenting reality. Woo, that was an interesting way to say augmenting the user interface and providing, customized functionality, and then I'm Azure for everything else. That's except for the personal app thing. I do use the OneDrive app folder for any kind of SharePoint framework extensibility things where I'm doing a personal experience, like my whatever web part. Then I'm writing JSON files into that personal app folder.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's all fair. I find like I'm not building stuff that is needing to like provide a different experience than like what SharePoint is doing with like document libraries or lists or everything.
Exactly.
So that to me, it's more like I need like it's an app that's more kind of like back office type stuff, but it's not like if you're going to do that stuff to me, it's always
100%.
Like SharePoint. So yeah, but my fan. So I'm personally I always go toward like probably 9 times out of 10 I go toward in the Azure direction. The only thing I would tell anybody that's doing this stuff is that if you go with the SharePoint, one of the SharePoint options, or with any of the other like data access options, like in Azure, I would have everything go from your app to something server side that would interface wherever your data is. I would not have the client side talk directly to the data that you have. I would keep those two separate.
100%, because in my mind, back to the security conversation, I want my API secured to do an OBO type flow for the client. I don't want them going directly against the database. And that just opens yourself up to things that you just don't want to open yourself up to from a security perspective. So I totally agree with that.
Yep. Completely concur. Yep. I'm right there with you. Cool. Yep. So
awesome.
The only other thing I'd say is that if you need a document-centric solution and you like ECM capabilities, SharePoint Embedded is a fantastic option.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
So definitely something to take a look at. And don't try and like save money and say like, oh, I'm just going to do it as Azure files and I'll just build all those features myself. Like it's silly.
Yeah. That's reinventing the wheel for no benefit.
We're on a theme here with this whole thing about a wheel and like the SharePoint framework libraries we talked about last time, right? So
yes, exactly. Apparently that's our theme for today.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to wrap this up. Keep this on the shorter end of our other ones. Julie.
Yeah.
Do you have a pick for us today? Oh, look at this.
Yes, I do.
Perfect timing.
I do. Yes, I do. And I have to say, I love to cook and everything. And even though I'm a little bit older now and I absolutely have to lay off the cocktails, doesn't mean I don't love just a beautiful cocktail every once in a while. And I got this article from Punch, which is an online sort of magazine. I think they might actually have a magazine too. I'm not subscribed to it, so I don't know a ton about it. But at any rate, this is a collection of the 50 best classic cocktail recipes made by some of the world's best bartenders. And I don't know if anybody knows, my absolute hands down favorite classic cocktail is the Sidecar. That has always been my absolute favorite cocktail. This one that was shared here from Chip Tinsdale is just next level. It's so good. So I highly recommend checking this out. If you're a cocktail person, you like a cocktail, these are some of the best recipes out there. I'm just so happy to have this list at my fingertips whenever I, want to make a lovely cocktail. So
that sounds so good.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through this list. This is dangerous.
Yeah, it's all the good ones. There's a Sazerac in there. There's a what am I thinking of? Belvedere in there.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's not. It's not. No.
An old fashioned, if you like one of those.
Oh heck yeah!
There's a Negroni. It's right up at the top. The first, right up at the top in the middle is a Negroni, a gorgeous one.
Yeah, I think so. Your staple? What did you say your staple was? Or like what's your go-to?
Mine's a Sidecar. I absolutely love a Sidecar. It's sort of in the middle.
I'm a solid old fashioned. I'm a solid old fashioned, like just give me an ice ball old fashioned. Yeah.
There's a lot of good things in here though that I don't have familiarity with that I would love to, make for myself at some point. Like I've never had a bamboo. Don't know what that is. Note that Mr. Chip Tinsdale has got a lot of recipes in here. So clearly he is one of the top-notch bartenders. So
I like your picks. This is great.
Yep. So, okay. and hey, since I try to cut back on my my alcohol intake, I love the fact that there's a non-alcoholic Negroni there at the back. I'll try that out.
There's a few of the mocktails that are actually not bad. We did one of the, I forgot what the brand is, but we got like one of the a whiskey, not a whiskey, a bourbon, whatever. We got it, and I don't remember which one it is, but it's different.
Spiritless 75 is pretty good. If you've ever had that one. Yeah, Spiritless 75 is really good if you make a mixed cocktail out of it. If you drink it straight up, it's not terrible. It's not like bad. You're not like, ooh, this is terrible, but it's not bourbon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you take that and you make like a bourbon smash out of it, yeah, it's pretty damn good. And I will tell you, I mean, maybe I'll share them for later, some links for later, but I found a tequila, non-alcoholic tequila, and a non-alcoholic white rum. And my go-to cocktail in the summertime to sit out on the front porch is to have a daiquiri, like a lime daiquiri on the rocks. I love it. When I could handle my alcohol a little bit better, I would have like 2, maybe 3 of those on a night, and I'd be like so happy and loving my life. Now I can't do it, but this non-alcoholic white rum makes a beautiful daiquiri. I don't miss it at all. I feel like I've got everything that I want in that drink, and guess what? I get to have as many as I want.
I really want to. So yeah, okay. So cocktails. Last week I said, oh no, wait, never mind. That was a different story. I'm not going to bore you with that one. I'm looking forward to when we're in Las Vegas for the M365 community conference. I'm looking forward to trying to find a spot that's like a quiet, like just a whiskey bar. Like everyone goes to that. I think it's called Whiskey Down or something like that in the middle of like the casino MGM. Like, no, that's not the way I like to finish my night. Like I like finish my night. Let me have an old.
We'll be on the hunt because you know how much I like a bourbon. So let's see if we can find one.
There's got to be a place to do it. You guys are the best to go through and find restaurants. And I know we got some good places.
Well, I got some ideas. So we'll look into it.
I'm going to go in a completely different direction with my pick, and it's going to be something we're going to talk about in a future episode. It was going to be today, but I was like, not yet. But it's this whole like fad that we have around MCPs, which is the Model Context Protocol.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm really curious to see if this kind of throws a massive curveball at Copilot at Build in about a month. But I found this video. I'm a big fan of this work that this lady does. It's the people that run the Playwright project for, I guess it's for Microsoft. Her name is Debbie O'Brien. They did a episode recently. I think there's a couple different videos they've done for this, but it's testing with AI using Playwright MCP. And they had this like live session where they went through and they did a deep dive into using the Playwright MCP, the Model Context Protocol, as a new way to, and drive and interact browsers using LLMs or using language models. The whole thing with like MCP is it's kind of like the way that different AI tools can talk to each other, and it's kind of like this like standard protocol. And there's a whole authentication model that's recently come out with it, or that's recently been revised. You can stand it up. A whole bunch of articles. It's like everybody is talking about this right now. I remember we showed up at the MVP Summit. It's like one person mentioned it. I felt like I turned around. I'm like, I didn't want to say it, but I was like, am I the last person to find out about this thing that's been around for a while? I'm like, no, this thing like came out of the blue. Like last as an Anthropic thing, the AI company that Amazon's really got behind. So cool stuff. This is pretty interesting though. I'm all choked up about it. I'm getting over this cough. I'm getting so much closer. I've been on meds now for almost a little under a week.
Well, you've been talking for a lot of time, so you're bound to start losing your voice.
Yeah, and I had a 2-hour class today, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got, Julie.
Yeah, I think we've done it due diligence for today, and I'm glad we could get together. So thanks everybody for joining us. See you next time.
Bye, buddy.
Did you like this episode? Please like and share it with your friends. We're on YouTube, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. You'll find all the links in the video description below. And if you have a question, head over to our site at codedeploygo.live, where you can send it in. Also, sign up for our mailing list on our site at codedeploygo.live to learn about future episodes, opportunities for listeners, and get the show notes from each episode sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.